Have you ever walked into a room and felt the air stand still for a few seconds? No one said anything, no action, but something in the air changed. It felt vague and yet palpable, as if an invisible wave had swept through. It wasn't random, it was energy, it was presence, and sometimes it came from you, before you even spoke, before anyone could even recognize your face. There was a part of you that entered first, not your feet, not your eyes, but your energy field, what many call your aura. It's not mystical. It's not some obscure spiritual phenomenon. It's the essence of your being, something your body, mind, and soul create through every experience, every wound, every choice to live authentically. An aura is not a glittering halo that only a few special people possess. In fact, everyone has it, but not everyone awakens to it. When you live in your truth, no longer hiding, no longer trying to play a role, that energy begins to be evident. It becomes consistent. It carries a message. I am here. No need to attract attention. I am just present. And that presence changes the space. There are people who, when they appear, everything seems to fall silent. People don't understand why they feel that way. A little nervous, a little curious, sometimes a feeling of inspiration, but no one can ignore it. The truth is, your energy always precedes your words. It enters the room before you do. It touches others before you see them. It communicates without words. And when that happens, the silence becomes heavier. The air is clearer or thicker, depending on the inner feelings of those present. This is what psychologist Carl Jung called the self, the deep self, where the true nature and the social self meet. When people live true to that self, energy becomes visible, not visually, but emotionally. Some people will be attracted, some will be uncomfortable, but no one can deny one thing: you leave an impression, even if you don't say anything. Many people think that you need to speak loudly, have a prominent personality to get noticed. But in fact, people with real energy don't need to do much. Their silence is also powerful. It is that quiet presence that makes others restless, because that silence is not empty. It is full of truth, and truth is always shocking, especially in a world accustomed to pretending. If you have ever felt that something happened around you, even though you didn't try to create it, you may have a powerful form of energy, an aura that no one taught you how to have, but that life has taught you with every wound you have survived. And if that is true, the rest of this journey will make you realize what makes you different is not a burden. It is a resource, and it starts with presence, silent, but impossible to ignore. We often hear the word aura and immediately think of the mystical light surrounding the body. But if we strip away the mystical shell, the nature of aura is actually very close and understandable. It is the personal energy field, the vibrational frequency you emit, based on your mental state, emotions, and self-awareness. Aura is not something only for spiritual people. It is the wordless language of life, something you emit every day, whether you realize it or not. According to Barbara Brennan, a scientist and former NASA engineer who has studied bioenergy fields in depth, humans emit a form of energy that surrounds their bodies from a few dozen centimeters to a few meters. This energy field does not come randomly. It is formed by the repetitive thoughts, dominant emotions, psychological trauma, and the level of inner integrity of each person. When a person is true to themselves, their magnetic field becomes consistent, salka, all, and it is felt very clearly, even if no one sees it. There are people who, when you are around them, you feel more at ease, more relaxed, more alert. There are also people who make you feel tense, tired, restless without knowing why. That is because the aura communicates before the words begin. It reads the environment, it touches the emotional level, and it transmits the message: this person is in himself, or is running away from something. Carl Jung once said, "The mind is beyond the physical. Humans are more than just flesh and mind. We are vibrational wholes, meaningful waves moving through the world." And when you live in synchronicity, that is, what you think, what you feel, and what you do are in unison, you emit a frequency that cannot be confused. It is what makes people turn their heads when you walk in. It is what makes them remember you, even if you only say a few short sentences. Imagine, you walk into a meeting, don't say anything, don't make a fuss, but people are drawn to you, not because of your looks, not because of your status, but because you carry a real presence, a kind of charisma that doesn't need to be performed. That is the physical manifestation of a strong aura. Aura is the mental impact you leave on others, and no one can fake it. You don't have to be an extrovert to have an aura. On the contrary, many quiet people have a great inner influence, because aura doesn't need volume, it needs clarity. When you know who you are, what you feel, where you stand in the world, the energy you radiate is not out of sync, and it is felt like a precise harmony that makes those sensitive enough to notice. A strong aura is not something that makes you loved by everyone. It is something that makes you impossible to ignore. Some will be attracted to it because it feels safe. Some will be offended because it feels exposed. But no one can be around you without feeling it. The vibration you emit will bring out the truth in others, either drawing them closer to their true selves or making them resist that very awakening. You may have felt like a misfit in a group. No one understood you well, and you made no effort to blend in. It's not because you look different or have different interests. It's because your aura is different from what people are used to. And that's a good thing, because an authentic aura will always highlight what's not fully lived in others. The science of human energy is advancing, but even without a meter, we can feel it most clearly. Have you ever been around someone and felt strangely at peace, or met someone who made you feel threatened even though they did nothing wrong? These are all signs energy fields don't lie, and you, whether you like it or not, are communicating through it every day. Understanding this is a crucial step in the journey of self-awareness, because from the moment you realize, I have an energy field, and it has an influence, you begin to become a channeler of energy instead of a channeler of it. And then the aura becomes more than just something you have. It becomes something you master. And when you master it, not only will your own experience change, but the spaces you enter will also change. When your energy is clear enough, without words or ostentatious actions, you leave a lasting impression. A strong aura doesn't come from outward appearances, but from internal synchronicity, the consistency between emotions, thoughts, and actions. Here are the first 5 signs that you possess an energy field that makes others unforgettable, perhaps even stirred by your mere presence. 1. You have an unforgettable presence, even when you don't do anything special. Some people come into our lives and disappear from our memories as soon as they leave. But there are also people who, even if they only appear briefly, leave a haunting feeling, as if we have known them for a long time, or as if they know something we can't name. If someone has ever said to you, I don't know why I remember you, it's not because you're trying to make a mark, it's because the energy you radiate has a lingering quality. When your aura is strong, it is like an invisible scent, so no one sees it, but everyone feels it. It stimulates memories, evokes emotions, reveals layers of depth that others do not expect. And it is the inner consistency, when you live authentically, live fully, live without contradictions, that makes that energy clear. People do not need to understand you, but they feel something very real from you, and that truth, in a world full of roles, is something that cannot be ignored. 2. You make others feel expanded or threatened. Aura is never neutral. It always creates a reaction. People with strong energy do not necessarily have to say anything profound. They just need to be present. To surrender that presence is enough for others to feel either opened up or touched. The truth is, the energy you radiate always touches something that is hidden in the other person. For those who are ready to look at themselves, you are a shining mirror. They feel more spacious, more real, more connected, even awakened. But to those who are still closed off, fearful, or living in a mask, you become a silent threat. Not because you have done anything wrong, but because you remind them of the part of themselves they have not dared to live, the dreams they have not pursued, the pain they have not healed, the decisions they have not had the courage to make. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the part that has been denied, pushed into the unconscious. And when you have a clean, real, unpretended aura, you shine a light on that shadow. That is when others may feel uncomfortable, react negatively, or can't stop thinking about you. That is what a strong aura is. It awakens, not with words, but with a deep, inescapable comparison. 3. Children, animals, and nature trust and listen to you. The natural world is not fooled by words or disguises. Children have not learned to pretend. Animals do not know how to analyze psychology. Plants respond to vibrational frequencies, not to reason. Therefore, one of the clearest signs of a pure aura is that you are trusted by the unconscious world. Have you ever seen a child suddenly sit next to you even though he does not know you? Or a dog in the park ignores everyone to get close to you? Or have you noticed that the trees you touch are always greener than usual? These are not random. They reflect the level of harmony between you and nature, between you and the primal part of every living thing. A true aura always makes non-rational beings feel safe, not because you are gentle, but because you are in sync. Your energy does not create conflicting signals. You do not smile while you are worried. You don't say nice things when you're nervous. That wholeness is recognized by the wordless world. And that's a priceless kind of trust. No promises, no explanations. 4. You make people defensive even when you've done nothing. If you've ever walked into a group and noticed people suddenly smiling awkwardly, adjusting their posture, changing their attitude, you're probably making them feel like they're being scrutinized. This often happens to people with strong auras who tend to be quiet, with little surface communication. They don't threaten with power, but with quiet awareness. Those who live by masks will see your presence as a reminder. You don't have to tell them they're acting, but your authenticity forces them to look at themselves. And that's not pleasant. Some people will think you're cold, arrogant, or unapproachable, but that says nothing about you. It says a lot about the unreconciled part of them. A strong aura often brings silent confrontation, not to start a fight, but to clarify. You don't want to start a conversation, but your lack of pretense makes the fakeness around you so obvious that it's hard to hide. And the inevitable reaction is either people shrink or they open up. You change the energy of a space. Have you ever walked into a room silently and noticed a change in the atmosphere? Maybe people suddenly quiet down, or become more attentive, or avert their gaze. That's your energy field restructuring the magnetic field, not by controlling, but by being fully present. According to researcher Barbara Brennan, the human energy field not only radiates out of the body, but also communicates with the surrounding energy field, including people and the environment. When you enter with fullness and honesty, you are like a sound of truth in an out-of-tune orchestra, and naturally, things begin to align. The space feels you. Others, even unconsciously, feel something shifting. Maybe it's an urge to look inward, or an urge to retreat. But all of it is evidence that your aura is not static. It has a restructuring force. It resonates, it rearranges what is disorganized. Sometimes the disorganization of others, sometimes the disorganization of the entire room. These first 5 signs are not achievements to be proud of, but the natural result of a real-life process. Aura does not come from trying to be someone else. It comes when you stop, when you unlearn, when you return to your fearless self. And it is then that your presence begins to speak, not through your mouth, but through an invisible but real energy layer, something that you do nothing about, and yet everything changes around you. When your aura is strong enough, not only do others sense it, but you begin to hear the world in a completely different way. Without even trying, you know when someone is not okay. Even if they are smiling, you know when something is wrong in a place, even if it looks perfect. Intuition, that is the gift that a pure and consistent aura always carries. But 6, you read people and spaces without words. You are not guessing, you are not thinking, you are reading with energy. When your aura is strong enough, it not only sends out signals, but also receives. Like a mental antenna, it picks up what others are broadcasting, even if they are not conscious of it. You walk into a party. Everyone is laughing, but you feel something in the air. Subtle, but there. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe it's a hidden sadness. Maybe it's a hidden rivalry. And your body knows it before your mind can process it. Your skin tightens. Your heart sinks a little. Intuition always precedes reason. And when your aura is clean enough, it becomes almost frighteningly accurate. Carl Jung said that the unconscious speaks in symbols and emotions, and you, a person who lives close to yourself, have learned that language. You don't need facts to know who's telling the truth. You don't need someone to tell you how confused they are. You read emotions with energy, not words. This doesn't come from knowing a lot. It comes from living a lot, living enough to feel without needing to verify. But because of that, you sometimes feel overwhelmed. Because you don't just hear what others say, you also hear what they're trying to hide. And that's just as exhausting as explaining yourself. 7. You feel exhausted from small talk. It's not that you hate people. It's not that you're arrogant. It's simply that superficial conversation doesn't fit your energy field. Small talk like "How are you? Nice weather today" makes you feel like you're draining your energy just to be polite. A strong aura is always hungry for the truth. You don't always need to delve into the soul of another person, but you need real presence, a real look, a real question, an unforced silence. Without that, you feel like you're pretending to be alive, and that drains your energy very quickly. The modern world encourages fast, shallow, polite communication, but you can't live on the surface. And you know it, because your body is responding very honestly. You're tired, you're sleepy, you want to go home. And that feeling isn't laziness. It's your energy system protecting itself. This leads to an inevitable reality. You begin to feel lonely in large groups, because your presence demands truth, and truth always thins out the crowd. But you don't feel sorry, because what you have left, however little, is true. 8. You often become a mirror that makes others face themselves. You don't need to say anything, you don't need to comment. But somehow, just by being there, people start to reveal things they never dared to face. Some people feel small, some people feel confused, some people suddenly get angry or avoid you. Why? Because your aura doesn't allow lies to remain hidden in peace. You become a mirror, and the thing is, you didn't choose it, and you don't want to upset anyone. But when you are real, you make the untruths obvious. And for those who aren't ready, their reaction will be to avoid, attack, even blame you. They may give you false images. This person is too difficult to approach. This person must think he is better than everyone else. This person is not flexible. But all of those labels stem from a deeper truth. They are uncomfortable with your light, because it makes them see parts of themselves they don't want to face. Knowing this doesn't mean you have to justify it. It means you don't panic when you're misunderstood. Remember, you're not attacking anyone. You're just being present. Does it clearly enough for your light to make others see their own shadow. 9. Your silence carries energy. You don't have to say much. You don't have to take the stage. But your silence isn't absence. It's containment. When you're silent, the energy is still there, even more clearly. It carries weight. It makes others notice, even when you're not saying anything. Because the silence of someone with a strong aura isn't a void. It's wholeness. It's a message. I'm here. I don't need to convince you. I just need to be myself. And that, in a noisy society, is a rare form of power. It is often mistakenly believed that one must be talkative, humorous, or expressive to be influential. But the most profound influence always comes from a quiet, steady presence. People with a strong aura know when to speak and when to just be there. And their presence, without words, still makes others change the way they sit, the way they breathe, the way they look inside. Not because you are doing something, but because you are not hiding anything. And in that not hiding, others suddenly see themselves, and that sometimes leaves them wondering what else to do but keep quiet. Sharp intuition, false disgust, reactions from others, and energetic silence. All these are not unusual phenomena. They are the natural consequences of an aura that has been honed with honesty and courage. When you live without disguise, you always emit a vibration that no one can ignore. And the more authentic you are, the more the world around you cannot remain the same. It is not something you force, it is something you cannot avoid. Because a person with a strong aura does not need to say anything. Their very presence is an answer. When you are authentic, you don't have to declare that you are free. Others will feel it. And the interesting, sometimes paradoxical thing is that freedom doesn't make everyone feel comfortable. In a world that still operates on roles, scripts, norms, and superficial consensus, a person who is authentic is like a silent fire, not noisy, but causing everything around to change its state. This is when your aura is not only felt, but also begins to create very specific reactions. Others suddenly tell you deep things. How many times have you fallen into this situation? After only a few minutes of talking to someone, they suddenly start talking about their childhood, the wounds they have never shared with anyone, or even burst into tears in the middle of a seemingly normal conversation. You don't ask questions, don't force them, don't even say much, but they still open up. It's not that you're special, It's that your aura opens up a safe space. A place where others feel they don't need to defend themselves, don't need to play a role. That aura doesn't have to say, "Just be yourself." It feels like a silent permission. I don't judge. I am present, and I am real. Carl Jung once said, "The unconscious is always looking for a way to express itself. When it meets someone who can listen without judgment, it comes out, and you are the one who facilitates that. You don't say, 'I will heal you,' but the energy you radiate is the space for healing to begin." However, you will also notice that this comes with a side effect. People often feel naked after sharing with you. Some feel relieved, others feel ashamed. But the common thread is this: you have touched a deep level without using a single word. That's the power of a stable aura. It doesn't demand, it allows. 11. Your freedom to be authentic makes others feel insecure. You don't speak out against anyone. You don't mock or expose anyone. But just by being authentic, without barriers, without acting, you create a silent pressure on those who are still hiding behind their masks. You may have seen someone suddenly become annoyed with you for no apparent reason. You may have been criticized for being different, difficult, too straightforward, when you were just living up to your values. That's because your aura directly clashes with the part of others that wants to be authentic, but doesn't have the courage. Freedom isn't something flashy. Sometimes it's very quiet. You don't do much, but your non-pretend is the most vivid interrogation of all those who live for the eyes of others. You walk in, and without saying a word, your presence asks a question. How long are you going to play the role? This is what makes some people uncomfortable. They are not ready to face themselves. And you, without doing anything wrong, become a symbol of what they are missing. They may shun you, envy you, even try to put you down. But remember, that is not the truth about you. It is their shadow in front of your light. 12. You leave, but your energy remains. One of the clearest signs of a strong aura is that even when you are no longer present, people still feel you are there. This is not the usual missing. It is an energetic echo, a kind of vibrating memory. Have you ever been to a place, and after you left, someone still talked about you for days? Not because you talked too much, but because your presence touched something deeper in them. Maybe inspiration, maybe questions, maybe a void they had never felt before. Aura does not leave with the body. When it is strong enough, real enough, it leaves its mark on the energy field of the space. And this cannot be faked, cannot be acted upon, nor can it be forced to exist. It comes from real life, the life you have chosen from within, without needing external validation. People remember you not because of what you said, but because they felt different when you were there. And when you are gone, they realize the silence you left behind. A rare thing in a world that is too noisy, too much talk, and too little real presence. At this stage, your aura is not just a phenomenon felt by others. It begins to create a ripple effect, a silent nucleus of influence. You don't have to be special, you don't have to impress, you don't have to argue. Just being present enough, fully enough, is enough to create truth, emotion, and change in the space and people around you. And this is when you realize you don't have to do anything to have an impact. You just have to stop doing things that take you away from who you are. The freedom you have is what creates the reaction, and it is also what allows you to start changing the world, not by speaking, but by being. Aura is not a gift from the universe. It is not a halo you wear to shine in front of others. It is a trace of what you have overcome without giving up on yourself. It is the mark of the times you have been knocked down, not by the world, but by your own unhealed inner self. It is the echo of the long nights no one saw, when you had to face the uncomfortable truth about yourself, and still chose to stand up, chose to continue. Maybe you have gone through a period that seemed impossible to overcome, a loss, a bottomless fall, a relationship that broke you, a choice that made the whole world turn its back on you. Maybe you have doubted yourself, felt small, weak, insignificant, and it is in those moments, when no one is watching, nothing is left to cling to, that you begin to meet yourself again. Light is not born from a safe zone. It is distilled from the darkness, where you have fallen, and where you have decided not to give up on yourself. A strong aura is not a sign of a good or perfect person. It is proof that the person has walked through the night and not let it turn them into a bitter or cold person. They have kept their softness, they have kept their heart, and that is what gives their energy weight. You are not the light because you have never been hurt. You are the light because you have walked through the hurt without letting it consume you. You do not pretend to be strong. You have been weak, you have been shaken, you have been lost. But then you sit, you breathe, you look directly at what hurts you. You learn not to deny yourself, even the parts of yourself that you are most ashamed of. And that is when the light begins to form, from the inside out. The real aura is not the sparkling one that people imagine. It is not fairy tale. It is deep, deep, and painfully deep. When someone with such an aura walks in, you don't see them shining in a theatrical way. You feel them as an anchor in a world that is shaking. Their stability comes from experience, not from books, from having rebuilt themselves more than once. A strong aura is the crystallization of will and honesty. It is the choice not to betray yourself, even if it means standing alone. It is the ability to walk through fire without losing your warm heart. And those who have walked through fire don't need to say much. Their energy speaks for them. When you survive the darkness and come back to yourself, the aura you carry with you is not a beautiful appearance, but a vibration that makes others feel there is a real person here. Not everyone may like you, but they cannot deny that you are there fully and deeply. You are not trying. You are. And in a world full of lies, being is a silent revolution. This is something that few people talk about when they talk about powerful energy. It does not come from chasing after glory, but from accompanying the darkness without being swallowed by it. People with strong auras are not those who have never been hurt, but those who have been hurt and still choose to love, choose to believe, choose to live with integrity. That is why strong auras can disturb, inspire, make others cry, or be confused when standing next to you. They do not understand why, but they feel something different, and they do not know that what they feel is the depth that you have dared to go into yourself. And in that depth, you no longer need to prove. Your presence is enough. Aura is energy, but deeper than that. Aura is the memory of your soul, recorded by what you have dared to live. And that is something that no one can imitate, no one can buy, no one can fake. That is why a person with a strong aura does not need to shine, they just need to step in. Because true light does not shine from the outside, but begins in the darkness that you dare to walk through. At some point in your journey of authenticity, you will realize a liberating truth. You no longer need to explain yourself. No need to justify why you are different. No need to try to be understood. No need to bend yourself to fit into a mold that no longer fits you. Because when your aura becomes clear, precise, and consistent, the Sampurpi speaks for itself. You no longer need to prove that you are sincere, because your presence is proof enough. You no longer need to assert that you are kind, because your energy reflects it. And you no longer need to justify when others feel uncomfortable with you, because that discomfort is often not about you, but about what you evoke in them. When you live long enough in your authenticity, you begin to understand that misunderstanding is an inevitable part of the journey of awakening. People will label you as cold, arrogant, unapproachable, mysterious. They will interpret your silence as indifference, your clarity as rigidity, your steadfastness as intimidation. But that is not you. It is their inner reflection, and you do not need to edit your image to fit the minds of others. Instead of trying to be accepted, you learn to rest in your inner fullness. You do not chase after looks. You do not compromise yourself just to keep the peace, because you understand that every time you betray yourself to make others comfortable, your aura becomes out of tune, blurred, and inauthentic. People with strong auras do not try to become anyone. They simply let go of all the layers that no longer fit and allow their true self to be fully present. No excuses, no defenses, no permissions, just being yourself, clear, complete, and not needing approval to continue to exist. And that is when your energy reaches a state of unmistakability. No need to explain, no need to please, just be real. If you have come this far in your journey, you have probably realized that aura is not something to be created. It is something to be stripped of all its coverings and revealed. It is you, no longer controlled by the gaze of others. It is you, no longer playing a role. It is you, in your entirety, even if it is not perfect. And when you live like that, the world will react. Sometimes with admiration, sometimes with resistance. But that no longer matters, because you know what is true inside you. What you need to do now is not to try to shine, but to dare to stand still in the light that is already there. Take a moment now, not to share your feelings, but to affirm to yourself, I am present. No need for validation, no need for approval, just feel that truth inside. And if what you have read makes you feel seen, heard, even if no one calls your name, then leave a sign. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just one sentence, a silent code word for those who are on the same frequency. I am present. It's not just an affirmation, it's a commitment, an unspoken oath that you will not return to the old version, where you had to ask permission to be yourself. If you feel like you are entering a new phase, where your aura can no longer be hidden, then you are not alone. Those who recognize this will recognize each other, in silence, in gaze, in energy. And that is where true connection begins.